We now have confirmation that the meeting is being recorded. So with your permission, Chair, I'll take this adherent for the meeting of the Clydesdale Area Committee of the 8th of June 2021. Councillor Allison, I see that you're here. I also see that Councillor Corbett is here. Councillor Greenshields. Nothing from Councillor...
Pauline, I can see him, but he's on mute.
That's fine, thank you. I also can see him, so I can confirm that he's here. Councillor Hamilton, you're obviously here, as is Councillor Holford. Councillor Horsham is here, as is Councillor Lockhart. Councillor Logan, I've seen that you're here. I have apologies from Councillor McCallan. Councillor McClymont, I see that you're here. Councillor McGavigan, I also see that you're here, as is Councillor Mars and Councillor Shearer. So with that, Chair, I'll pass back to you for the business of today's meeting.
Great. Thank you, Pauline. Okay. Let me just get my screen up here. Okay. Right. The first thing is declaration of interests. Now, Julia Mars has done a declaration. I don't know whether you want me to announce it, Julia, or do you want to just announce it?
I'm happy for you to advise, Chair.
Right, Julia Mara has announced that she won't be taking part in item 5.2.1.1a about the Kirkfield Bank application for the Homing and Sporting Club. Okay, are there any other declarations of interest? Right, good, thank you. Moving on then, the minutes of the previous meeting, which everybody presumably will have seen and read. So I just need to know if there are any points arising from that, first of all. I see nothing. In which case, I will move that those minutes are accepted.
I'll second them, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, now we move on to the section on the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service. This is a presentation by the station manager, George Kirkcuddy. And so I will hand the floor over to you, George, and thank you for coming.
Thank you, Councillor. Firstly, can I just introduce myself? I'm George Kirkcuddy. I'm Station Commander for Carluke and Lanark Station, and I've got responsibility for the Clydesdale locality. I've only just moved into the area since April, so I'm still getting a bit of a grasp of the different parts of Clydesdale area. I've moved up from Dumfries and Galloway. So basically, I'd just like to present the figures for the previous year. Please bear in mind that the figures that are provided they are accurate, but obviously due to the pandemic, they may be a bit not as high as previous years. So as I say, but that's a positive. So as I say, I'll try and bring up the screen and show you the figures as we start to move through them. Okay. Bear with me, try and get this up. Could possibly you bring that screen, the document up if it's possible, if you have it.
I'll have a look.
My side doesn't seem to be wanting to be playing the game.
If you want to keep trying, I'll certainly try from my end. No problem.
Let's see if I can find that. No, mine's is not working.
No, just if you just want to bear with me, I'll do my best. Here we go. I'm not actually seeing the...
Bear with me, I'm just trying to see if I can see it. Oh, I think I can find it now. Can you see it now? It should start to show up.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much.
So you can see that.
Sorry for the hassle there. So basically, obviously, we look at the 10 key indicators that we work through for the year. And these obviously see the headings there: deliberate fires, deliberate secondary fires, accidental, and so on all the way down. I'll bring up the details. As you can see, for the previous year, we've had a 19% decrease in deliberate fires within the area, which is a positive. There has been a bit of slight movement between the east and north and the west and south, which is obviously shows a difference in the area. So as I say, but there's no kind of any pattern that seems to be being highlighted. Majority of the initial incidents at the beginning of the year was relating to grass fires, which previously, as I say, was quite a warm April, May last year, and so that obviously increased the number of grassland and outdoor refuse fires that we had. Moving on to the deliberate secondary fires, again, they actually remained almost static to some extent. We did have a little issue, as I said before, about the grass fires, and this seemed to be in the Abbey Green Road area of Lesmahago, which it just seemed to be spotting around the same route area, but we never seemed to, as soon as the area, the month kind of tapered off, they disappeared as the weather changed, so we never saw any more repeat tendencies at these areas. Going on to the accidental dwelling fires, again, we've had a slight reduction, and as I say, it has remained static. Other accidental fires that we've been dealing with, that has a drop of 29%. Again, it's most instances have involved, used to be always involved in manufacturing process, private garages and residential homes. Again, that may be to the fact that throughout the year, last year, been in and out of workplaces. So therefore, this does have an impact because obviously the pandemic has caused us not to be at workplaces. Also, when you look at the fatal fire casualties, again, we've had a positive year again, no fatalities for this year again. And moving down, we had the non-fatal fire casualties excluding precautionary checkups. A lot of these incidents have been caused by generally people being distracted. They've gone in at a later stage, finding that things have been burning away or cooking away, and they've taken in a bit of smoke. So then they will then get either seen by Scottish Ambulance Service, and then they'll take them to hospital because obviously they've been affected by this smoke and fumes. RTCs, again, that could be show an impact at the fact that there's been less cars on the road over the previous year. Again, a kind of caveat for the coming year, we have actually seen a slight increase again because people are now back on the roads. So it's been a dramatic drop from 53 down to 33 again. But as I say, I've already highlighted that's due to possibly people not being on the road. Moving on down to the special services non-fatal. Again, most of the incidents that we've been dealing with these areas, that has remained flat again. And what we're generally finding is that as across Scotland, this is actually one of the areas that is increasing affecting entry to get into premises, and that's kind of a more of a route that we've been dealing with, and also obviously RTCs we've been dealing with as well across the whole of Scotland. But as I say, within the area it has remained flat. Malicious calls for the area, again, it has increased by 3, but we identified one little premise, which is a nursery, which had 4 calls within a matter of a week, but it was turned out to be a young child kept on pressing the alarm, so it was going in as a malicious call. So, but that had tailed off, and the community action team obviously engaged with them to alleviate any issues. And further than that, there's not been any major kind of pinpointing premises. It's just sporadic around the areas. As you say, it's mostly to do with education premises that we're finding these when they've either come back into school or they've been off school, whatever, so. And finally, again, unwanted fire alarm signals. again, this is something that nationally the services got a project on at the moment to reduce this even further. So at the moment, we have within our area we have dropped from 246 down to 218, and again, we are still, the service wants to reduce this even greatly and remove these blue light journeys for unnecessary attendances at alarms that's been sounding. Okay, so that's basically the overall report for the area. If I'm willing to take any questions if you have anything.
George, can I ask? Well done. I was going to say, if you remove the presentation, then we can see who's got the hand up. Thank you. Well, thanks for that. I mean, it's very interesting. It seems odd that there's not been that much of a reduction, despite the fact that no one's been going to work or no one's been.
Yeah, it's funny. That is funny how it does it, but it's when you actually look at the figures that are starting to creep up just now. The more people that have been back at work, there is actually a slight increase again. It's starting to go back. I was just doing a review of my last month there for my area meeting, and we looked at within Carluke, they attended for example, the number of grass fires. It jumped from about 50 odds down to about 18 in the space of a month. It's just really, really weird how different areas across the whole of Scotland. It is, all the figures are down, but I know people aren't at work, but some people are at work, and the ones that are at work are the ones that are probably causing the mischief. So it's but other than that, I don't really know what else I can really say about the figures.
No, thank you. I see Eileen Logan's got her hand up.
Thank you very much, Chair. I was interested, you actually just mentioned it there, the grass fires and that type of thing. As soon as the good weather comes, you get huge amounts of, well, I can only say younger people. I'll not say the areas because obviously if we're going to be public, that would then maybe encourage more. But we see, and I have had a lot of reports of vandalism, trees getting set on fire, bridges, over walkways, fields. And one man told me one night there was at least 60 youths congregated in a field somewhere. Bulk probably did no hurt, but one or two stayed on, and then he got a fire, and away we go. And I'm assuming that's part of the problem. And the other thing about your road traffic things and all that, for the first 2 or 3 weeks of the pandemic, the roads were like you could have danced up the middle, virtually, when you were out a walk. But it very, very quickly went back to what I would have called normal traffic. And it certainly is normal traffic now, whether people are going to work or not going to work. I must be, I try and not take my car as much as I possibly can anymore. But if you're trying to cross the roads or you're trying to do whatever, there's certainly a good amount of traffic. And I had to go into M74 one day because it was imperative I got to somewhere, and I never seen traffic like it. It was nose to tail, and that was the M74. I came back the M8. I was at Clydebank at the hospital actually, and then I went back the M8, and I thought, oh, this is just as bad. So the traffic is there. Where they're going or what they're doing, I don't know. But I think the good weather also doesn't help for the sporadic fires and the various bits of mischief, for want of a better word, that folk get up to.
I think there's another aspect is that with the different changes, because obviously we were following Scottish Government guidance, we obviously had a lot of areas where we had to withdraw from actually and doing face-to-face, which was impacted on us greatly, because obviously we would do a lot of work in the schools, specifically around that time, around with the thematic action plan that we always dealt with around the grass fire season when we know it's coming. And we're only getting in at some points. So we're trying our best through teams and whenever the classes were in, or if we could engage with them. But again, it was almost like as soon as we went into that full lockdown, you weren't getting anywhere near the schools to speak to them. So I think that's another wee bit and also another aspect is some of the community action teams, I think they like to get out and about in the areas to try and engage with the youths, to try and see where they are, and if they are congregating, working with other partners to try and get this message across, but again, it's, the way the youth work, they kind of are, they'll start to congregate and then they'll move from place to place. Then, as I say, it's just try to counteract that, and that's what we need to do, so they are working hard, the teams are working hard trying to engage. I think we're having an issue up at Blantyre area at the moment, but that's where the team are kind of concentrating at the moment. But at the moment, kind of Clydesdale is relatively quiet at the moment. So.
Okay, thank you. I see Catherine McClymont's got her hand up.
Thanks, Richard. Hi, George. We
Hi
have
there.
emailed back and forward, but now I can
Yes.
put a face to that name. Thank you. No, I was just wondering how the Woodstock Road closure was impacting in the service, because obviously that's a real difficult area just now. And well, I think all of Lanark's a difficult area, and if you were in contact with the roads about that.
No, sorry, I haven't. I haven't been in contact with regard to that. To be fair, it's some of the areas I'm still getting to grasp of it. As I say, understanding some of the areas. I will engage with the station and to find out if it's any ongoing issues with it, or have had any issues.
No, I just wondered if you'd had any feedback from your fire crew, because it's nose to tail in Lanark most days, and the Woodstock Road being closed. But I just wondered if there was an issue there.
To be fair, I haven't had any issues raised by the crews. I am due to have a watch commander meeting anyway, and I will raise that with them. But as I say, they're generally they're a good bunch of watch commanders who, if there is a problem, they'll raise it with me straight away. So, but unfortunately, I haven't had anything back from at the moment.
Any other questions then for George? Anybody got anything? Right, well, George, thank you for that. That's very good. Good rundown. Oh, hang on, Eileen.
No, sorry, this is completely different. It was just I was speaking to somebody the other day, as I am wont to do when I'm out and about. For hours, I have to tell you, can boot my house. Anyway, I was up near the Carluke fire station. We've got the retain station. You always get this, and then you get it in the Facebooks and the other social media. But this person and his wife said, "Oh, are they closing that?" And I said, "No, to my knowledge, no." I said, "It's a very well-run station and a very needed station." I says, and I sat in another committee in the council where a lot of things come through. I says, "I certainly haven't heard it." So I'm assuming that I'm right enough that there's nothing on the radar about, retain stations or anything like that. No.
The service have done a review and they have looked at station, but see where Carluke sits, they are a very, very busy station, and they were a big hole in the service if they were removed. And as I say, they are. I would just say, I'm not saying that. As I say, I wouldn't say this would go ahead, but some of these, they look at reviews and sometimes even look at the station to be a point of, could they actually upgrade it to a whole-time station? That's how busy they are, so they are doing a lot of runs into Law and into the North Lanarkshire area, which I'm assuming you're all aware of, that we are becoming one Lanarkshire area as a service. So obviously that's how that'll impact in that, as I say, but the station, no plans, nothing. No. They sit very well where they are, and they're a very busy station.
Yeah, I thought that. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, if there's nothing else, then George, thank you very much. You're welcome to stay and listen to our deliberations, but I suspect you may feel quite happy to leave us. Thank you anyway.
Thanks for your time, councillors. Thank you.
Okay, great. Now then, what are we on next? Play scheme grant applications. They are, as you see in the in item 4. I think it's item 4, is it? Yeah, right. Here we go. Now you've got 2 there, and one of them has been withdrawn. There's one for Lanark Universal Connections, and the Stanmore House Play scheme has been withdrawn. So we're only just approving the first one, which is the Universal Connections. Does anybody have any points they want to raise about that? Eileen, yes. Oh, golly.
Yeah,
Catherine.
Oh, sorry.
On you go. You go first.
Right, I have absolutely nothing to do with the amounts or anything like that. What I was actually wondering was, given the circumstances and the social distancing, etc., and what you can do and what you can't do, as the play scheme is actually going to go ahead, and if they didn't go ahead, I would presume, and I'm just talking about in general, no just this or that, then the money would just remain as it is, because that was what I was wondering, because there's still barriers to a lot of different stuff yet, outdoor activities or whatever they might be trying to do.
Yeah, right. I mean, I that's beyond my pay grade, the answer to that, unless someone else has got any ideas.
Chair, if through you, if I could just sort of give an update, where play schemes don't actually operate physically, they can have PAX activities that they can let people have, so that there is an activity, if you like, although it's not necessarily a lot of people in one particular group, so they can do PAX, so they can keep the spirit of the play scheme going in that way, if you like. So that's probably the best I can say about that. In terms of if they don't spend the money, well, then we would look to have that sent back in. Obviously, they have to account for the monies that they've spent.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Catherine.
Thanks, Chair. I just wondered if we're allowed to ask why Stanmore have withdrawn their application, because they put in for this every year. I'm just quite surprised.
There's nothing on it at all. It simply states that it's been withdrawn.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Alec?
Yeah, just curiosity, Lanark Universal Connections, the age group attending that won't necessarily need a play scheme, either for themselves or for anything else. So I take it they're running it for someone else, or what's the background to this one? Could you hear a little bit more about it, Pauline, please?
Councillor Alison, I don't actually have that information today, but what I can do is I can find out the information and just basically circulate it to members of the committee, just to let them know what's happening, if that suits.
Okay.
Right. I see no hands up anymore. Anybody? Right. Well, then, in which case, I will move that grant is accepted and agreed.
Seconded, Chair.
Okay. Now then, we move on to, where are we? Item 5. This is the community grant applications, and we have got one person who declares an interest for the sporting club. So, Julia, can I suggest that we deal with that one first, because there's other things afterwards, and then we'll deal with that one and then let you back in, and then we'll deal with the rest. Is that okay? Okay, Pauline, can you just do that and then bring her back in when we've done this one? Okay.
Certainly.
It's very simple. I mean, it's a very small grant, and it's within the rules, the agreement rules for the for the grant to be awarded. It's only one grant, so if we're all happy with it, I'll just open the floor to anyone to see who has any objections. I can't see any, so I will move that grant to the sporting club is accepted. And I will then bring back Julia.
Agreed.
Will you? So it needs to be a second. Are we all agreed?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Okay, can you bring Julia back, Pauline, please?
Certainly, Chair. Councillor Bars, can you confirm if you're back in the meeting yet?
Yes, Pauline, I'm here, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Item 5, applications approved under delegated authority. This has been done without anyone else in this group being here, do we have to approve those in arrears as well, Pauline?
No, Chair, those are just for noting.
It's just for noting, all right. Okay.
Agreed.
So, okay, we're all agreed on that. Okay. Now then, we move on to another area of interest to everybody, and it has been discussed before. And I raised it and circulated it to everyone, was that because of the COVID last year, obviously quite a substantial amount of the money that was available for grant was not used. And at one stage, we applied to have it carried over to the new year. We were told that this wasn't possible. However, I now see, if you look on 6.3, which if you read it, you will see what it says. I don't have to explain it. It seems possible that the £10,090, which were unused from last year, may well be able to be carried forward. This is still to be decided at the final executive committee. I don't know whether Alex can throw any more light on this as to if it's likely, what happened, and why it suddenly appeared, because we were categorically told initially no, it couldn't be done.
I think what was left after the last meeting, Mr. Chairman, was that I was to take it forward, which I did do, and it's been agreed basically by all the leaders. I thought it had actually went through executive already, but if it's on the next executive meeting, then I expect it to go through unopposed, because nobody seemed to have any objection to it.
Fine, okay, thank you. Has anybody else got it? Anybody want to make any points about that? I don't think it's really anything important at the moment, and we will obviously see it next time round. Right, the next bit is perhaps more interesting, and that is that if you turn to, where are we? Is it listed in here, or is it just the note that we're noting? What's happened is you will all have seen the note which was circulated by, I think it was Carol and Lynn, on the subject of what we're going to, if you like, be looking at going forwards with the area committee. And I don't know whether it's anything that you actually want to discuss at this moment, because obviously it covers a fairly broad area. And if there's any points you want to make, to note, and maybe for us to take forward, or we just leave it as it is, note that we are now going to have these things brought to us every time in the area committee, and that it's something that hopefully it will be something we can get more engaged on a local basis. Has anyone got any particular points they want to raise about it? Somebody went ping. What was that? You're all aware of what I'm talking about, the participatory budgeting, which has
Councillor McClymont.
Councillor McClymont's got a hand up, yeah.
Yeah, Richard, well, we just got that the other day there, and to be honest, I do print everything off, I'm afraid, because I can't work with the computer as well as listen to meetings. So I don't know whether everybody else is the same, but I didn't have much of a chance to read through it all since I only got it this morning, to be honest. So I wasn't really thinking we were going to be discussing it because it wasn't on the agenda.
No.
No, I do understand that. I mean, it was effectively only for noting. But the interesting thing is it did send, if you saw them, a couple of examples, if you like, of what it was going to look like and what we were going to be involved in. And did anyone see that participatory budgeting update for the area committee, Appendix 8? Did you all see that? It's just detail on how it's going to work, and with one example, effectively.
Chair, we have Councillor Logan and Councillor McGavigan also looking to speak.
Okay, I don't know who was first, but
Councillor Logan.
Right, I think that's okay.
Thank you. Chair, all I was going to say is I'm a bit like Catherine. It wasn't in these papers, and I had a look at it, and obviously you go back and have another look at it. And I personally, I don't know, but the colleagues would be comfortable today, because I haven't got it in front of me, and I haven't, like Catherine, run it off yet or anything like that. Trying to discuss something if you want. What's the word I'm looking for?
Okay, no, I just
opinions or anything like that, because if you do, then I think maybe the next meeting, that would be fine. if that's the case. But it's quite difficult because we're sort of, I don't mean stabbing at the dark, but I haven't got anything in front of me. I've only got what we were discussing today, and I don't know that I would like to go into it in absolute depth. Unprepared,
Right.
want a better word.
Is everyone else of the same view?
Yeah.
I mean,
What actually do you want to discuss about it, Richard? Because it's
No, I'm
already been
just saying.
through Corporate and Finance Committee.
Yeah, it's being put through, but it's a fairly major jump, if you like, I think, in terms of the responsibilities that the area committees are going to be taking on, unless I've misread this. And therefore, I accept that people haven't had much time to look at it. And therefore, I was only raising it because I think, it's got to be given some attention, certainly before the next meeting. And I'm not quite sure how we as a committee are now going to be roped into all of this, or what information we're going to be, what documents we're going to have to read. All of the stuff that is mentioned in this is actually quite detailed, and it is now coming to the area. Therefore, we need to be aware of what we're having to do and how we're going to do it, and what input we have on the decisions. I've got Colin was next. Colin, go again.
Thanks, Chair. I actually welcome the participatory budgeting proposal. Well, not proposals that have been passed. We've now been in 4 years, and it was an SNP manifesto proposal was that the participatory budgeting would come into play. And it's been moulded and shaped, and we've asked year on year, and now we've actually got something. We've also asked that the area committees have more local accountability. So we're getting more accountability and more decisions to make locally for the people that have put us in place. And the SNP are standing up to their manifesto proposal of initiating participatory budgeting at a local level. So I think this is something to be very much welcomed, and will give us more say locally and more budget control locally. So I think it's a good thing. Can I just bring in one other point rather than come in later? Just through you, it's possibly something that Pauline can answer. The recording says that it's been recording for 1 hour, 10 minutes, and the meeting's been on for 35 minutes. What was recorded prior to the start of the meeting? I've noticed it in other meetings as well. It's an administration thing, but it doesn't seem to make any sense.
No, through you, Chair, I agree. I think whenever we start to do anything to do with the committee, for example, the live streaming has to be invited to this meeting, and that gets invited half an hour before the meeting starts. So when the meeting, when that joins the meeting, if you like, it generates the meeting length. So we start maybe a half an hour before the meeting starts, the meeting length. It's not recording for that amount of time, but the meeting is recognised as happening as soon as the first person joins.
Great. Thank you very much.
Right. Okay, Colin, thank you. I think next was Eileen, and then Julia after that.
Thank you again, Chair. I agree, because I don't have any bother or hesitation in about the whole ethos, and I think it has been said. It is passed. It's not something that we could influence or say, oh, we don't want this. It is there, and that's fine, and it's right enough. But if and I understand this as well, if you're going to have to chair a new format of meeting with different things like that, if you feel that maybe there should be some what's the word, like us getting information, that type of thing, I have no bother about that as well. I don't think it should be today when it's just us, and I don't mean stabbing in the dark either, but when we're trying to know what to do. But if an information session is required, then that would be fine. But I don't think it's, as I say, for me personally, I'm sitting with nothing except papers that I thought I needed, and I I don't think that's right. But if an information session from whoever in the administration to say, this would be your new format, this is what you'd be looking for, this is what you'd be doing, then I don't have any bother with that at all.
Through your chair, could I maybe offer just a bit of clarification to do with today's papers, if you like? Would that be all right?
Yeah, far away.
Just to say that today's papers don't actually form part of the agenda for the meeting. We are aware that following the recess, area committees will be receiving reports as a standard item on participatory budgeting. There will be officers at the meeting, and officers will obviously be able to talk through particular projects and particular budgets that are being spent and proposed for investment, if you like. But today it's simply just as a taster for what's coming, to let members see the type of thing that we're looking at. It's not for decision. It's simply for members' information at this particular point. And I don't know if that's helped clear anything, but that's what's happening today. It's not for discussion, decision, or anything today. The report will take its own format, and officers will be there in the future to talk through information on the reports.
Thank you, Pauline. I think that, I personally agree with Eileen. I would suggest that this is something on which it is important, not just for our area, but the other areas, that we actually do have some training, if that's a good word for it, so that we can all get a better understanding of what it is and how it's going to operate, and the responsibilities, if nothing else, that we are now going to face as area committee members. So I would just I don't know whether I have to move that should happen, but I would like to suggest that happens, and hopefully other people will agree with me, and then we'll go on to Julia's point. Any thoughts? Anybody? I will take that as an acceptance.
If we're all agreed, ask Pauline to take it back for you.
Yes, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Chair, if you don't mind, my point was on that issue as well. Do you mind if I speak now?
Yes. No, I do.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes, do speak.
Thank you. I'm a wee bit surprised at the apparent ambiguity about community participation or participatory budgeting, because there have been a number of information sessions and a lot of discussion at the council in various committees and forums. My understanding, and I think that Pauline has clarified this as well, that the area committee will have an oversight duty to look at participatory budgeting, but the clue is in the name. It is for the community to decide how monies are spent, and there has been already a briefing paper, several I actually think, outlining what will be included as a first step in this direction, and also to raise Councillor McGavigan's point, the SNP administration are also delighted to have this in place after 4 years. It's not for the want of trying on our part to have other people vote along with us. As a minority administration, it was not within our gift to bring this through just as quickly as we would like, but we are absolutely delighted that the community can have their say and help us to shape local decisions in future. So thank you.
Okay, I don't think there's anything else. If there is there any... there's a last point on your agenda. If you all go right to the last page, it's part of the 3 community grants, if you like, which were granted after the period. I just highlighted them, and I presume everyone has seen them, and they are presumably okay with them. I don't think we have to do anything more than just see them. We don't have to approve anything.
No, Chair, those are simply the noting aspect of that report.
Sorry?
Those are the noting aspect of
yes,
that
exactly.
report.
Yeah, that's fine. So I basically then, I've got absolutely nothing else. If there are any other urgent items of business or items of urgent business, has anybody got anything they want to raise? No, all silent. Right, brilliant. Well, in that case, everybody, thank you very much indeed for coming, and I can declare the meeting closed and ask the clerk to stop the recording.